topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Powerful Business Strategies, where you will find out that everything you have ever learned about growing your business is wrong. Finally, a show where you'll learn the right way to grow your business by learning business and financial strategies that your competition isn't doing. And now, here is your host, President of Next Step CFO, Michael Barbarita. And joining Michael for today's show as an executive moderator is Chuki Obiyo.
Yes, this is Chuki, and I believe that gratitude is undefeated and growth is about the next step. It is an honor for me to moderate today's discussion with my good friend Michael. Michael, how are you?
Fantastic, Chuki. Thank you. Well, my name is Michael Barbarita, president of Next Step CFO. And Next Step CFO is a fractional CFO and strategic implementation firm. Business owners hire us to double and triple their profit using business and financial strategies that their competition isn't doing. Our vision is to ensure that overwhelmed business owners achieve consistent profit that leads to time freedom to build the legacy and the life they desire. Our mission is dedicated to guiding small business owners to leveraging their time, exploding their profits, and building a meaningful legacy. And this show, Powerful Business Strategies, in our book of the same name, is a step toward accomplishing that vision and mission. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to my co-author and moderator for the show, Chuki Obiyo.
It's funny, Michael and I were talking right before the show started, and I'm really inspired by today's episode. It's really about the abundance mindset, the revenue multiplication formula, which Michael's wisdom will get us into. So look, a really quick disclaimer. Michael and I are both affiliated with a number of different organizations. I currently serve as a managing director of business development for Enterprise, a global business-focused law firm. But in addition to that, look, it's truly an honor to collaborate with Michael to moderate business roundtables, coast to coast, even international. And then we document these insights as part of our book, Powerful Business Strategies. And please note that the views expressed on this show are views based on very successful experiences from these roundtables and beyond. And my mission as a fearless moderator is to ask the right questions to help you, the listener, learn the best strategies that the competition isn't doing. With that, back over to Michael.
Thank you, Chuki. So before we dive into today's topic, I want to share something that could surprise you, maybe not. But right now, within your existing business, there's money waiting to be discovered. Not in some complex new venture or expensive expansion or something complicated with big shifts, but in opportunities that you walk past every single day. And most business owners spend their time chasing new customers when gold mines actually exist within their current operations. And I've seen businesses increase revenue by 40, 50, even 80% simply by recognizing and capturing value they already have and they already created, but are not monetizing. And so today isn't about working harder or spending more money on marketing, but today is about opening your eyes to the revenue opportunities that already surround you. Because when you learn to see your business through the lens of hidden revenue potential, you'll wonder why you ever missed these opportunities in the first place. So we're exploring one of my favorite business topics, by the way, finding hidden revenue within your existing operations. And I call this
one of your favorites, right, Michael?
One of my favorites. Anything to do with more money is one of my favorites. It's based on a simple but powerful premise that most businesses are sitting on substantial untapped revenue opportunities that require little to no investment to capture. And let me start by sharing a story that I think illustrates this concept. A commercial cleaning company was struggling to grow despite having an excellent reputation and building loyal customers. The owner was considering expensive marketing campaigns and geographic expansion when she discovered something interesting. So during her analysis, she found that this company's technicians were regularly identifying maintenance issues in their clients' facilities, whether it's things like burnt out light fixtures, maybe worn carpeting. What they needed was a system to capitalize on this existing value. And they created a program where they began offering coordinated solutions for the issues they were already identifying. And they partnered with qualified vendors for services outside their expertise and handled, which they marked up, by the way, and handled others in-house. And within 8 months, this single initiative increased their revenue by 34% without acquiring a single new customer. And this example demonstrates the core principle of hidden revenue multiplication, because the biggest opportunities are often hiding in plain sight within your current operations.
Michael, that's a fascinating example, but how common is it for businesses to have these kinds of hidden revenue opportunities? I mean, is this something that applies mainly to service businesses, or would you say it's across industries?
Well, that's a great question. So, well, in my experience, working with businesses across dozens of industries, I estimate that at least half of the companies have significant untapped revenue opportunities within their existing operation. And this isn't limited to service businesses at all. I see it everywhere. For example, I saw a manufacturing company was selling industrial equipment, but wasn't offering installation, training, or any of the ongoing maintenance services. And they were leaving essentially 60% of the total customer value on the table because they were thinking of themselves as manufacturers rather than a complete solution provider. And similarly, a retail client discovered that customers frequently asked their staff for advice about complementary products they didn't carry. Instead of seeing this as an inconvenience, he repositioned it as a revenue opportunity and created a special order program with preferred vendor relationships. And this one thing added 18% of their annual revenue with minimal additional overhead. So the revenue multiplication formula applies universally because it's based on 3 fundamental truths about business. And this is really important. First, every business creates value beyond what they currently monetize. You solve problems, you provide insights, make connections, and deliver outcomes that you might not be charging for. Second, your existing customers trust you and would often buy additional products or services from you if you offer them. It's much easier to expand relationships with current customers than to acquire new ones. We all know that. Third, your current operation generates data, relationships, and capabilities that can be leveraged for additional revenue streams. You're already investing in these assets. The question is whether you're maximizing their return. So the revenue multiplication formula helps you systematically identify and capture these opportunities through a structured approach with 4 key components. Number one, first component is value inventory, cataloging all the value that you currently create, including value you're not charging for. Second is customer expansion analysis, identifying additional ways to serve your existing customer base profitably. Third is asset leverage assessment, finding ways to monetize your existing capabilities, relationships, and data. And then fourth, revenue stream integration. This is implementing new revenue streams in ways that enhance rather than distract from your current core business. So let's explore that first component called value inventory. And this is the process of cataloging all the value that you currently create, including value you're not charging for. So most business owners, for example, significantly underestimate the breadth of value that they provide to customers. And this blind spot costs them substantial revenue. So here is a systematic approach to conducting your value inventory. First, document every customer touch point and interaction. So you map out the complete customer journey from initial contact through the ongoing relationship. At each touch point, you ask, What value are we providing here? And by the way, don't just consider the obvious paid services. Look for advice. Look for advice, insights, connections, problem solving, or convenience that you provide without explicit compensation. For example, let me give you an example. A business consultant realized that during brief check-in calls with clients, she was routinely providing valuable strategic advice that other consultants were charging hundreds of dollars for. These calls were positioned as customer service from her perspective, but they were actually delivering substantial consulting value that could be monetized. Second, analyze your team's expertise and knowledge. Your employees possess knowledge and skills that extend beyond their immediate job functions. This expertise often creates monetizable value that you're not capturing. An accounting firm, for example, discovered that their staff regularly answered complex tax questions during routine bookkeeping services. And these weren't simple clarifications. They were actually providing tax advice that specialized tax consultants charge premium rates for. And so by creating a structured tax advisory service, they increased their average client value by 28%. Third, examine your business's process and systems. Often, the systems that you've developed to run your business efficiently could be valuable to other businesses facing similar challenges. And by the way, this might include proprietary methodologies, software configurations, maybe it's a training program, or some type of operational framework. For instance, a restaurant chain had developed an exceptionally effective staff training system to maintain consistency across locations. So what did they do? They packaged this system as a consulting service for other restaurants. And it created an entirely new revenue stream that leveraged an asset that they already created. Fourth is identify connection and relationship opportunities. Your business likely sits at the intersection of multiple industries, vendors, and customer types. And these connections often represent untapped revenue opportunities through referrals, partnerships, or facilitated introductions. So, for example, a construction company realized that they were regularly connecting clients with interior designers, landscapers, and also specialty contractors. Instead of making these referrals informally, they became a trusted partner. They created a trusted partner network where they actually received referral fees while providing clients with pre-vetted service providers. And that's part of the joint venture strategy that we showed you in previous shows. Mm-hmm. Fifth, analyze your data and insights. Your business generates data about market trends, customer behavior, and industry patterns that actually could be valuable to others. And this might include market research, benchmarking data, or industry insights. For example, a distribution company began selling anonymized market data to suppliers, providing insights about regional demand patterns and customer preferences. And this new revenue stream required very little additional effort since they were already collecting the data for internal purposes.
Well, that's really insightful, Michael. But I've got to go deep on this. How do business owners determine which of these hidden value opportunities are worth pursuing, right? Because I imagine not all these opportunities are created equal.
Well, you're right for sure. Not all hidden opportunities are created equal. And the key is to evaluate potential opportunities against specific criteria to prioritize those with the highest return on investment. So here are three criteria that I use to evaluate hidden revenue opportunities. First, market demand validation. Just because you can provide something doesn't mean there's sufficient demand to make it profitable. So before investing time in developing a new revenue stream, validate that customers are willing to pay for it. You can do this through simple surveys of existing customers, informal conversations during regular business interactions, or small-scale testing. And here's an example. The accounting firm that I mentioned earlier started by asking 3 existing clients if they'd be interested in formal tax advisory services for developing the complete offering. Of course, the answer was yes. Second, implementation complexity. Some opportunities require minimal additional resources to implement, while others would require significant investment in new systems, training, or personnel. So you prioritize opportunities that leverage your existing capabilities and infrastructure. For example, if you're already having conversations with customers about complementary services, formalizing that into a revenue stream is much simpler than developing new technical capabilities. And third, alignment with core business. So the best hidden revenue opportunities enhance your core business rather than detract from it or distract from it. Look for opportunities that deepen the customer relationship, increase customer stickiness, leverage your existing reputation and expertise, and create cross-selling or upselling opportunities with current services. And that systematic approach ensures that you focus on opportunities that provide the greatest return with the least risk and resource investment.
That's a very practical framework for evaluation, Michael. And as you know from some of our business roundtable conversations, I mean, disruption is a big part of why business owners don't necessarily take that first step.
Yeah.
So, once business owners have identified and prioritized these hidden value opportunities, I mean, what's the best way to begin implementation?
Well, the biggest mistake businesses make when pursuing these hidden revenue opportunities is trying to do everything at once, trying to implement it all, just, fire all the guns. And that can overwhelm their systems and distract from their core business. The key is strategic phased implementation. So here's an approach for implementation. First, start with pilot programs rather than full launches. This is where I go back to that I've said so many times about testing. Choose one priority opportunity implemented on a small scale with a limited group of customers. And this allows you to refine your approach, identify potential issues, and validate the business model before committing significant resources. For example, the business consultant I mentioned earlier didn't immediately offer formal strategic advisory calls to all clients. She started by offering the service to 3 existing clients as a pilot program, and then refined her approach based on their feedback, and then gradually expanded to her full client base. So it's very gradual. Second, leverage existing touch points rather than creating new ones. So the most successful hidden revenue implementations build on existing customer interactions rather than creating additional complexity. If you're already talking to customers regularly, find ways to incorporate new offerings into those conversations. Third, ensure adequate systems and processes are in place before scaling them. So hidden revenue opportunities often require slightly different processes than your core business. So develop these clear procedures, pricing structures, and delivery methods during the pilot phase so that you can scale smoothly and address issues. Fourth, train your team gradually. Your staff needs to understand these new offerings and feel comfortable presenting them to customers. And start with key team members. Validate the approach and then expand training to the broader team. And then fifth, measure results carefully before the beginning, or right from the beginning, excuse me. So track not just revenue from new offerings, but also their impact on customer satisfaction, team productivity, and core business performance. And this data will guide your scaling decisions. And so a manufacturing company implemented this approach really, really, really well. And they identified that customers frequently ask for installation and training services. So instead of immediately creating a full service department, they selected 5 existing customers for a pilot installation program. They partnered with an established installation contractor for the first few projects. They develop standardized processes and pricing based on pilot results. They trained their sales team on the new offering, and they gradually brought installation capabilities in-house as demand grew. And this phased approach allowed them to actually validate the opportunity, refine the execution, and scale profitability without disrupting their core manufacturing operations, because we know business owners hate that.
Oh, amen to that, right, Michael? So look, that's excellent advice for implementation. Just to make this as practical as possible, what are 2 key action items that you would recommend?
Okay, well, as we wrap up the segment, Chuki, the first action item is to spend 1 week documenting every interaction your team has with customers, noting any extra advice, extra insights, or additional value they provide beyond your core service, and have team members keep simple logs of questions that they answer, problems that they solve, or connections they facilitate that aren't part of your standard offering. And you'll be surprised how much valuable service you're providing without compensation. The second action item is to survey 5 of your best customers about additional services they would value from you, and ask specific questions like, what are the challenges are you facing that we might be able to help you with? And also ask them things like, what services do you currently purchase from other vendors that you wish we could provide? And their responses will reveal hidden revenue opportunities based on real market demand rather than assumptions. And in our next segment, we're going to explore the customer expansion analysis, how to systematically identify additional ways to serve your existing customer base profitably and increase the lifetime value of each relationship. So before I continue, we're going to take a 90-second break.
Hey there, business owners. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of blending in with your competitors? Frustrated with slow growth and slim margins? Well, I've got news for you. Everything you've ever learned about growing your business is wrong. But don't worry. I'm here to let you in on a secret weapon, your position of market dominance. It's what sets you apart, makes you irreplaceable, and has customers lining up at your door. My name is Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. I know what you're thinking. Sounds great, Michael, but how do I find my position of market dominance? Well, that's exactly why we've created our game-changing implementation program called Next Step to Market Dominance. In just 90 days, we'll guide you step by step to a position of market dominance by uncovering your unique strengths that competitors can't touch, by crafting a message that resonates deeply with your ideal customer, by building a strategy that turns you into the go-to expert in your field. Now, this isn't theory. These are battle-tested strategies that have helped businesses like yours double, triple, and quadruple their revenue. Don't let another quarter go by struggling to stand out. It's time to dominate your market, period. Go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the form, and in the message section, put the word dominate. Or call us at 781-326-3822. That's nextstepcfo.net/contact, or call us at 781-326-3822.
Welcome back to Powerful Business Strategies. And remember, you can catch all of our replays at powerfulbusinessstrategies.com. So before the break, we discussed value inventory, cataloging all the value that you currently create, including value you're not charging for, especially value you're not charging for. Now let's explore that second component of our revenue multiplication formula called customer expansion analysis. And this is about systematically identifying additional ways to serve your existing customer base profitably. The fundamental principle here is that it's much easier and more profitable to expand relationships with current customers than to acquire new ones. And here's why customer expansion is so powerful. Existing customers already trust you, they understand your value, and you've established buying patterns. And these customers have established buying patterns with your business. The sales cycle is shorter, the conversion rates are higher, and the lifetime value increases dramatically. And studies consistently show that increasing customer retention rates by just 5% can increase profits by as much as 20 to 50%. Now, let me walk you through a systematic approach to customer expansion. First, segment your customers by profitability and growth potential. Not all customers are equally valuable for expansion efforts. And then create 3 segments. High-value customers who are profitable and have significant expansion potential. Medium-value customers who have become high value with the right expansion. And then low-value customers who may not justify significant expansion investment. Focus most of your expansion efforts on the first 2 segments where your return on investment will be the highest. Second, analyze each customer's total market opportunity. This means understanding the full scope of what each customer spends on products or services related to your industry, not just what they spend with you. And this share of wallet analysis actually reveals how much room exists for expansion. And let me give you an example. So a marketing agency discovered that their typical client spent $180,000 annually on various marketing services, but they were only capturing $45,000 of that spend. This analysis revealed an expansion opportunity within their existing customer base. Third, map customer pain points and unmet needs. Your existing customers face challenges beyond what you currently solve for them. Some of these challenges might be addressable through expansions of your current services or new offerings. So conduct structured interviews with key customers, focusing on their broader challenges, their goals, and frustrations. Ask questions like, what other vendors do you work with in our industry? What challenges do you face with that vendor is not solving well? And what would happen, or what would need to happen, a better way, for you to consolidate more services with fewer vendors? By the way, customers love that. Customers love consolidating services. There's fewer ship-tos, there's fewer invoices to deal with. It's just, and there's, less phone calls or emails to order product.
Yes.
Fourth, identify natural expansion pathways. Look for logical extensions of your current services that would offer additional value to customers. And these might include complementary services that enhance your core offering. They could include higher level strategic services that build on your current work. They can include related services that address adjacent customer needs. And they can include maintenance or support or ongoing services for core deliverables. And a software development company identified that clients needed ongoing technical support, staff training on new systems, and regular updates and enhancements. And by systematically offering these services to existing clients, they increased their average customer value from $85,000 to $142,000 over 2 years. Fifth, create expansion offers that feel natural and valuable. The key to successful customer expansion is positioning new offerings as logical extensions of your existing relationship rather than aggressive upselling. And frame expansion opportunities around customer outcomes and value rather than your need for additional revenue.
That makes a lot of sense, Michael. And I do have a question here, and it's also some feedback that we've gotten from listeners. How do companies identify which customers are most likely to be receptive to expansion offers? And I think we can imagine that there are some customers that might resonate with this and some customers that might not. So what's your perspective in that regard?
So you're right. I mean, customer reception of these concepts varies significantly. Yep. And targeting the wrong customers with expansion offers can, they can potentially damage relationships. So the key is developing a systematic approach to identifying expansion-ready customers. And here's the key indicators I look for when assessing expansion readiness. First, relationship depth and satisfaction. Customers who are most likely to expand are those who have been with you for at least 6 months. They've experienced your value. They consistently pay on time and don't negotiate aggressively on pricing. They provide positive feedback and express satisfaction with your current services. They refer other customers to your business, and they include you in strategic conversations beyond your immediate service area. Second, growth indicators within their business. So expanding companies often need expanded services. So look for customers who are increasing the scope or frequency of their current services, or hiring new staff, or expanding operations, or entering new markets, or launching new products, or even expressing frustration with multiple vendors and managing those multiple vendors. And then asking for advice beyond your current service scope is another indicator that they're looking for expansion of your services. Third, vendor consolidation preferences. Some customers prefer working with multiple specialized vendors, while others value the convenience and accountability of those consolidated relationships. I found the latter to be more frequent. Identify consolidation-oriented customers by listening to phrases like, "We'd prefer to work with fewer vendors. It's challenging to coordinate between different service providers. We wish we had one point of contact for all of these things. And do you know anyone who could help us with that related service?" Fourth, budget authority and decision-making power. So expansion opportunities are most viable when you're working with customers who have the authority and budget to make additional purchasing decisions. And this might require understanding their decision-making process and identifying the right stakeholders for expansion conversations. And let me share a specific example of how this assessment works in practice. So a commercial insurance broker analyzed their customer base and identified their most expansion-ready customers. She had three characteristics. They had been clients for more than 18 months. They had grown their business by more than 15% in the past year, and they regularly asked the broker for advice on risk management issues beyond insurance. And by focusing expansion efforts exclusively on customers meeting this criteria, they achieved a 73% success rate on expansion offers compared to a 23% success rate when they approached customers randomly. So the key insight here is that customer expansion should be strategic and targeted rather than broadly applied. And when you focus on the right customers at the right time with the right offers, expansion becomes a natural evolution of the relationship rather than an aggressive sales tactic.
Yeah, Michael, we don't know anything about aggressive sales tactics at all.
No,
right?
not at all.
Business owners, right? There you go. Look, those are excellent strategies for making expansion financially viable. And Michael, that's credit to your strategic CFO mindset. So to wrap up this segment, what are two key action items that you would recommend?
So the first one is to create a customer, what I call a customer expansion scorecard for your top 20 customers. Rate each customer on a scale of 1 to 5 for relationship satisfaction, business growth, vendor consolidation preference, and budget authority. Focus your initial expansion efforts on customer scores that are 15 or higher out of 20. And this target approach will dramatically improve your success rate compared to generic expansion attempts. And the second action item is to conduct strategic need assessments with high-scoring customers in the next month. Don't approach these as sales conversations, by the way, but as strategic discussions about their challenges and goals. Ask about their complete ecosystem of vendors, their upcoming initiatives, and their pain points with current service providers. These conversations will reveal specific expansion opportunities based on real customer needs rather than assumptions about what they might want. And in our next segment, we'll explore asset leverage assessment and how to monetize your existing capabilities, relationships, and data in ways that create new revenue streams without significant additional investment. So before I continue this discussion, we're going to take a 90-second break.
Hey there, business owners. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of blending in with your competitors? Frustrated with slow growth and slim margins? Well, I've got news for you. Everything you've ever learned about growing your business is wrong. But don't worry. I'm here to let you in on a secret weapon, your position of market dominance. It's what sets you apart, makes you irreplaceable, and has customers lining up at your door. My name is Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. I know what you're thinking. Sounds great, Michael, but how do I find my position of market dominance? Well, that's exactly why we've created our game-changing implementation program called Next Step to Market Dominance. In just 90 days, we'll guide you step by step to a position of market dominance by uncovering your unique strengths that competitors can't touch, by crafting a message that resonates deeply with your ideal customer, by building a strategy that turns you into the go-to expert in your field. Now, this isn't theory. These are battle-tested strategies that have helped businesses like yours double, triple, and quadruple their revenue. Don't let another quarter go by struggling to stand out. It's time to dominate your market, period. Go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the form, and in the message section, put the word dominate. Or call us at 781-326-3822. That's nextstepcfo.net/contact, or call us at 781-326-3822.
Welcome back to Powerful Business Strategies. And remember, you can catch any replay at powerfulbusinessstrategies.com. So far, we've covered value inventory and customer expansion analysis. Let's explore the third component of our revenue multiplication formula, asset leverage assessment. And this is about finding ways to monetize your existing capabilities, relationships, and data. You see, most businesses have valuable assets that could generate additional revenue, but are currently underutilized, or they're not monetized at all. And the key is recognizing these assets and developing creative ways to extract value from them. So let me walk you through the 5 major categories of leveraged assets that exist in most businesses. First is intellectual property and expertise. Your business has developed knowledge, processes, and methodologies that could be valuable to others. This might include proprietary systems, training materials, best practices, or even specialized knowledge that you take for granted, but others would pay for. So, for example, a successful restaurant developed an exceptional employee retention system to address the industry's notorious turnover problems. So instead of keeping this system internal, they packaged it as a consulting service for other restaurants. And this new revenue stream generated over 180 grand in its first year while requiring minimal additional resources. Second, relationships and network access. Your business sits at the intersection of various industries, customer types, and vendor relationships. These connections represent monetizable assets through formal referral programs, partnership arrangements, or facilitated introductions. And let me give you an example. A commercial real estate firm realized that they regularly connected clients with contractors, architects, interior designers, and financial service providers. And instead of making these referrals informally, they created a trusted partner network with structured referral agreements. And this generated additional $95,000 annually in referral fees while providing added value to their clients. Third, data and market insights. Your business generates valuable data about market trends, customer behavior, industry patterns, and operational benchmarks. And this information could be valuable to vendors, industry associations, or other businesses facing similar challenges. Let's say another example. A distribution company began offering anonymous market intelligence reports to their suppliers, providing insights about regional demand patterns, seasonal trends, and customer preferences. And this data was a byproduct of their normal operations. But packaging it professionally created new revenue stream worth $120,000 annually. Fourth, physical assets and infrastructure. Your equipment, facilities, or technical technological infrastructure might have capacity that could be monetized during off-peak times or for complementary purposes. For example, a manufacturing company with specialized equipment realized that they used their machinery at 60% capacity. They began offering contract manufacturing services to smaller companies who couldn't justify purchasing their own equipment. This asset leverage strategy increased their revenue by 28% while spreading fixed costs across more production volume. Fifth, brand and reputation assets. Your established reputation and market position can be leveraged to support new revenue streams that benefit from your credibility and customer trust. So here's another example of that. A well-regarded accounting firm leveraged their reputation to offer business valuation services for mergers and acquisitions. And while this required some additional training, their established credibility made them immediately competitive in this higher margin service area.
These are fascinating examples, Michael, but how do you advise business owners to come up with a systematic way to identify which of their assets have the greatest potential for generating additional revenue? I mean, would this require a shift in mindset for what constitutes a business asset?
No, you're right. You're right, Chuki. See, most business owners think of assets in traditional accounting terms, like equipment, inventory, maybe even real estate. But for revenue multiplication purposes, we need to think much more broadly about what constitutes a valuable asset. And here's a systematic approach for identifying your leverageable assets. First, conduct an asset audit across 5 categories. For example, ask, what do we have that others might find valuable? And for intellectual assets, inventory you possess, inventory process, methodologies, training materials, proprietary knowledge, and problem-solving approaches. And ask, what do we do differently or better than typical companies in our industry? And for relationship assets, map your network of customers, your network of vendors, your network of partners, and industry connections, and ask, who do we know that could benefit from knowing each other? In other words, and what introductions or connections could we facilitate? So for data assets, analyze what information you collect in the normal course of business. So what you ask is, what patterns do we see that others in our industry would find valuable? And what benchmarking or market intelligence could we provide? And for physical assets, examine your equipment, facilities, and infrastructure utilization, and ask, what capacity do we have that's not fully utilized, and what resources could serve additional purposes? And by the way, I've seen many times where small businesses want to start out, they need to find a resource to manufacture or build, and they use the graveyard shift. I've seen that many times. It happens a lot in the baking industry too, by the way. For brand assets, evaluate your reputation, your expertise, and market position. Ask, what credibility do we have that could support new offerings, and what trust have we built that could be extended to related services? Second, apply the external value test to each identified asset. Just because you have something doesn't mean it's valuable to others. For each potential asset, ask what others would pay for the access to this. Does this solve a real problem for a specific market? And is this unique or difficult for others to replicate? And can we deliver this consistently at a profitable price point? Third, prioritize assets based on monetization complexity. So some assets can be monetized with minimal additional investment, while others require significant development. So start with the assets that have immediate market demand, low implementation complexity, high margin potential, and strong alignment with your core business.
Michael, these are excellent insights. Now, to wrap up this segment, what are 2 of the most important action items that you would recommend?
Well, the first action item is to conduct a comprehensive audit, asset audit, using 5 categories that we discussed. That was intellectual property, relationships, data, physical assets, and brand assets. And for each category, list everything that you have that might be valuable to others, and then apply the external value test to identify the most promising opportunities. And focus on assets that actually solve problems for specific markets that can be monetized with a relatively low complexity. And the second action item is to identify 3 potential partnership opportunities where you could monetize your assets without building new operational infrastructure. And look for established businesses that could benefit from your intellectual property. In our closing segment, I'll explore the revenue stream integration and how to implement new revenue streams in ways that enhance rather than distract from your core business, and we'll summarize the complete revenue multiplication formula. So as we wrap up today's episode on finding hidden money in your existing business, let's summarize the complete revenue multiplication formula and how all 4 components work together to unlock revenue opportunities. And we began with value inventory, cataloging all the value you currently create, including value you're not charging for. And this involves documenting every customer touch point, analyzing your team's expertise, examining your business process, identifying connection opportunities, and analyzing your data and insights. Next, we explored customer expansion analysis, systematically identifying additional ways to serve your existing customer base profitably. We discussed segmenting customers by potential, analyzing total market opportunity, mapping unmet needs, identifying natural expansion pathways, and creating compelling offers that feel like natural relationship evolution. We then covered asset leverage assessment. That's finding ways to monetize your existing capabilities, your existing relationships, and your existing data. And this included intellectual property, relationship networks, data insights, physical assets, and brand reputation. We provided a systematic approach for identifying and prioritizing these assets based on external value and implementation complexity. And finally, we touched on revenue stream integration. That's implementing new revenue streams in ways that enhance rather than distract from your core business through partnerships, asset-light models, workflow integrations, demand testing, and clear boundaries. The power of this framework comes from recognizing that substantial revenue opportunities already exist within your business. You just need to acquire. You don't need to acquire new customers or enter new markets or develop entirely new capabilities. You need to see and capture the value you're already creating but not monetizing. And remember, this revenue multiplication isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter by recognizing and capturing what's hiding in plain sight. When you include this systematically, you'll often discover that the revenue increases come more easily than traditional growth strategies because you're building on existing strengths and relationships. And Chuki, I know we have another question from the audience, but we're not going to be able to take it, unfortunately.
No worries.
So to get a copy of our book, Powerful Business Strategies, simply go to our website, www.nextstepcfo. It is totally complimentary. And until next Monday at noon Eastern Time, for Chuki Obiyo, my name is Michael Barbarita, and remember, don't keep doing what your competition is doing.
You have been listening to Powerful Business Strategies, finding out that everything you ever learned about growing your business is wrong. Tune in next week and every week at noon Eastern Time on W4CY Radio with your host, Michael Barbarita of Next Step CFO, and moderator Chuki Obiyo.